Welcome to the Dr Detective, a PhD true crime podcast, the show where we bring you critical assessment based on experience. Today, we're going to talk about some of the breaking news in this story. Um, I started working on this a few days ago prior to today's news of R. Kelly being rushed to the hospital and the alleged overdose that took place. So I want to talk about whether there was a plot to kill R. Kelly, just as his attorneys mentioned, as he's mentioned, and now it's breaking news stories. As we know, this is brought to you by the Dr. Detective in collaboration with the True Crime Talk channel. Again, please like and subscribe and share. Let's get into it. Breaking news as of today, earlier this morning, I woke up to the posting of R. Kelly overdosing, right? Being rushed to the hospital. Suppose he was given medication by the staff at the prison facility. We do know he was already taking medication for anxiety, medication for several other reasons, and he was taken to the hospital, brief treatment, and then brought back to the prison without surgery. Supposedly, surgery was recommended. Supposedly, they talked about he needed surgery as required per the doctor's recommendations, and he was denied that to this point. So, again, no matter what someone's done, he's been sentenced. He's paying his dues right now for what he was sentenced for, and 30 years plus 20 years for his charges. But no one deserves to be targeted in that fashion if that is the case. We know this is alleged right now, but let's see what happens. So again, question I pose, is his life in danger or is it in jeopardy? His attorney says Kelly's life is in jeopardy right now because the Bureau of Prisons denied him the necessary surgery. He has blood clots in his lungs and several other concerns. Of course, the treatment for detoxing from the overdose. Not sure exactly what was given. Stay tuned. We'll try to figure that out and see what's being reported. But we do know he could die from this condition of having blood clots. So, again, anyone who's ever been in the hospital or had any previous surgery, it's already bad enough having to go into surgery. But clearly, when you have those combination of things that are taking place, anything can happen, right? Again, man serving out his sentence. Let's get into the story and the reason why I wanted to engage this a few days ago as it was originally reported. So, Robert Kelly's attorney filed several motions. They talked about, of course, we know he was charged with the Mann Act, same as Sean Diddy Combs, and charged with racketeering that involved sexual exploitation of children, in this case with Robert Sylvester Kelly, right? So R. Kelly was charged with a little bit different context, similar charges, different types of victims, right? We know the sentence, we know the trial. Currently serving that 30 years in prison, also 20 years for the child sex crimes, as reported. Again, the attorney and R. Kelly says they're trying to kill me. So how did this come about? Many of you know the story now. You may have heard, but um, there's some of the details as reported. His attorney reports this is a problem. And as we know now, with a suspicion of this alleged overdose, what really happened? How do you overdose when you're in solitary confinement in a prison, right? If you're in jail, we do know that I've heard stories of, different things can move about. Uh, Prisoners have different access to different substances potentially, or they're crafty and, that whole system, that's a whole different life, whole different method of operation and so forth. But in solitary confinement, you're pretty much placed there. And for whatever reason, how does this happen? You're issued your medication by the guards and by the staff, right? So in this case, originally where there was a motion filed by the attorney, it was brought to R. Kelly's attention by a gentleman named Michael Glenn Stein. This was a terminally ill inmate who stated officials offered him freedom in his final days in exchange for executing the murder of R. Kelly. So he was given or offered or promised his freedom in exchange for taking out R. Kelly. Right now, we have this man has overdosed. in prison while he's serving his time out, for whatever he's done, right? So Stein claimed he was told Kelly and the attorneys were planning to expose damaging information about how his trial was facilitated, how his trial and prosecution took place. And maybe some people don't want that out there. So this is all alleged, of course, right? And they're saying, the attorney for Mr. Kelly saying that there's a violation of the attorney client privilege, right? Where there was mail intercepted, correspondence intercepted. We do know the jail calls are all monitored and recorded. We do know all mail and packages have to be vetted. They have to be searched for security purposes, understandable, right? But if there's correspondence between you and your attorney for any inmate, any prisoner, that has a privilege, right? So attorney client privilege, if that's been violated, maybe there's good cause to what they're claiming. Now this adds more credibility or weight to the concerns, right? So this Michael Stein said officials told him he would be charged with Kelly's murder, but the evidence would be mishandled and there would be no conviction. Interesting point, right? So if you're promised and offered your freedom, and of course you go through the motions, or he was told allegedly they would go through the trial, the arrest, and so forth, but there would be no conviction. Why is that? So Kelly's attorney, looked at the background and the association, the affiliation of Stein as a leader of the Aryan Brotherhood, right? So back in March, apparently Stein considered this offer and was prepared to kill RKelly, but he had a change of heart. Instead, he tells RKelly about what the plan was, about the Bureau of Prisons and the officials, how they directed him to facilitate his murder. And he told Mr. Kelly, as a result, this was filed in documented paperwork and delivered to the attorneys. Therein, the motions filed several days ago. Kelly's counsel learned of a second member also of the Aryan Brotherhood who was directed by officials to kill both Kelly and Stein. So again, a very interesting point. We're talking about, we're going to promise you your freedom, allegedly, right? Alleged, this is all alleged. So freedom's promised. You're going to have to be arrested, stand trial, but there'll be no conviction. Apparently, if you're going to hire another person to take me out, that could be the case. Again, speculation, but that is what's claimed. That is what's reported. So again, they claim that he's in danger. Obviously, maybe more weight and credibility has been lended to this with the overdose now taking place. Again, we're gonna hope for the best outcome. I'm sure the victims in Mr. Kelly's case still want him to serve his time. Not gonna wish any ill gotten gains or any ill will towards anybody, right? If he's in fact been convicted as he has, he's serving out his time. Let the man speak. Of course, everyone has rights. You have a right to file appeals. You have a right to um, the justice system as it weighs in. My thing is, you got them. If you can arrest a person or bring them to trial, with doing it the right way, just do it the right way, right? If you can't do it the right way, don't by all means stoop to any level or any potential methods, right? So this is extreme, right? You can all agree this is extreme. So does he have a right to be concerned? Obviously so. With this, if that was done intentionally, look at the timing of this, right? So he's in danger potentially. So the attorney saying for Mr. Kelly saying, we're going to ask for a pardon, right? This is prior to the overdose issue and incident taking place last night, early this morning. So they're going to ask for a pardon, whether they get it or not, or that's appropriate. That's a subject of discussion, right? So what does that mean? What does that actually look like if that is considered? The thing about house arrest, they're trying to get a pardon to get house arrest for Mr. Kelly, not just to let him go free, right? But again, there's some other options to consider. Most likely should be moved from that particular prison, pending investigation, of course, of what took place and so forth. Again, alleged allegations. We do know Mr. Kelly went to the hospital, as reported. Went to the hospital. as reported for overdosing on a substance of some sort. So again, testing will conclude what kind of toxicology, medication, even his own medication as he has for anxiety and so forth, what took place. The other concern and issue are these blood clots. So again, if he is moved and in fact issued a pardon or change for house arrest, that is the attorney's goal, right? I haven't heard the attorney say we want him off completely. They're looking to protect him first and foremost, right? It's about safety. And this is electronic monitoring, as many of you all know. Again, so house arrest is used as an alternative for primarily people with shorter term sentences and or lesser crimes like white collar crimes, lesser um, serious crimes, or not violent crimes in nature, or crimes that are, felonious and so forth. Of course, these were felonies, but we're talking about minor drug offenses, first time DUIs, or maybe some fraud and white collar crime. Typically, house arrest is reserved for that. Um, it's highly unlikely someone's going to get convicted of 30 years for a crime and then receives a pardon or house arrest, but you just never know, right? How things go. Some interesting people have been pardoned recently. This may be the case. So, question I pose, and we'll wrap this up. More to come. We're going to continue to monitor. Hope for the best for Mr. Kelly. Hope for the best for all parties involved. And if that is the case, safety first, right? You got the man in prison. I mean, he's in prison. He's convicted. So let him serve his time out, just like anyone else, right? Um, and we'll see how this may tie in. We'll see if there's other evidence that comes forward. But I want to ask the question of you all: do you think R. Kelly would get a pardon, especially at this time with what's going on? And I think first and foremost, we just want him to make it and have a healthy recovery, so he can continue to do his time as served and as sentenced, right? But is house arrest appropriate? And do you all think he's going to get a pardon? Put yes or no in the comment and chat, like and subscribe also. This is the Dr. Detective series. Just wanted to chime in and talk about this again. Been working on this for several days, considering what could potentially happen, what kind of other motions might be filed, what kind of evidence might be produced as a result. I believe they have affidavits and paperwork, documentation showing what's been sworn to. Again, I want to thank you, like and subscribe. By all means, let's see if this plot was real or credible. This is a Dr. Detective series, a PhD, true crime podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. As always, send in love, send in prayers. Let's go. Thank you.